Hey, welcome back. Tyler here with another weekly reading writing update. So this week, I finished a book, started and just about finished a nonfiction, and started another another fiction. So a fair amount of updates this week. First off, I finished Blood Over Bright Haven. I gave that 4 stars. I enjoyed the story quite a bit, and I think I mentioned last week that the characters were really working and really doing well for me. Um, that changed a little bit in the book. I had a hard time connecting with the protagonist. She has a character trait. I gotta close the door. I'm getting some echo. Whoa, much better. A character trait where she has a little bit of an ego problem. This is self-admitted, and so I know that it's intentionally written in the book, and I think it works as a character trait for this specific character, but I think that it was just overplayed just a hair for me. I really thought that this was a series, and I didn't realize that it was just yet another one-off from ML Wang, and I'm very torn on that. The book is very self-contained. I'll just put that out there. And if you're wanting just a novel to read that is not connected to a larger, universe, there's not this kind of pressure to get into like a big series like, a Game of Thrones, a Stormlight Archive, a Red Rising, anything like that. There's not that pressure to do that. This is just a one-off. Um, I want to say fun romp, but it's not necessarily fun. Um, Not in a bad way, but it's just there's some bummers within the book, which I think are very. That's what did work for me is the kind of bummer scenarios. There's some story points that really connect for me, and that's why this book really did work, and I really did enjoy it. If it didn't, and I had the issues that I have with the main character, and then without the great storytelling that was there, it probably wouldn't have rated as high as it did. But throughout the book, there's just some really great themes that I think are really fleshed out. The character deals with kind of this emotional loss of her religion, and that really resonates with me. It deals with a lot of really timely issues, and I think it does a very good job of communicating those in such a way where it's not preaching to you about, oh, here's a bunch of problems and here's some solutions. It's more just presenting them with, hey, these are issues that you can connect to your world. You can not connect them, but you can't ignore them. I think that's the to me that was the style that I really liked through that. The story was woven in with these kind of ever-present issues in our world being pointed out in this book in such a way that you can't ignore them. And I think to me, that's a very effective way to do that within your stories. This will be spoiler free, but about halfway through, there's a pretty major reveal that I didn't see coming. I probably should have. It's not so groundbreaking, but that said, it was just really well written, in that I was just having fun reading the book. And then there's a pretty jaw dropping kind of reveal in the middle, and that really drove. I read this pretty quickly because you just wanted to know what happened and where this was going to go. I do feel that it stalled a little bit in like the 75% mark, and there was a couple times where there was some characters that would just be talking about stuff, and I'm kind of like, whoa, like we're in a really tense situation and we're just kind of talking as if everything's okay. So a couple minor issues that I had, but I really want to emphasize I really enjoyed it. I think that if you're into kind of the dark academia fantasy realm, you'd probably enjoy it. If you're into just fantasy in general, you're probably going to enjoy it. If you are straight up a sci-fi person, this might be a little bit of a challenge for you, in that it's just pretty fantasy driven. It has a magic system that's pretty complex, and there's going to be some hurdles for you to get over if you are purely a sci-fi or like a mystery fiction, any kind of that. But that said, I think it's definitely worth a try and definitely worth your attention. So I also started a another book, just a kind of a personal book called Raising Good Humans. Um, I started this as just I saw it as a parenting book and it appealed to me. I've finished this pretty quick. It's pretty short. I'm about 80% through it right now, and I will probably go back through this in the print version just to really absorb and do some of the practices that are within the book. I think this book applies to not just parents, but just people in general. And so that's what's really, I think it's really fantastic. It doesn't just apply to me as a parent, but as just a human. And I think that's the goal of the book. It's called Raising Good Humans. I think it's going to be very difficult to do that, raising good humans, if you are not actively trying to do that yourself and actively trying to make strides in that area for yourself. So Raising Good Humans, I'll finish that probably in the next couple days. Um, we'll start a new nonfiction at some point. I'll see what's available, and that one will be another reread, but I won't have any more updates on it. So coming up next, like I said, we'll find something for nonfiction. I have to see what's available, what's come up. Um, I had so many holds lapse on my Libby that I need to go back and figure out what I'm doing. I had Sapiens lapse. I had a couple others that I was pretty excited about lapse, and that's just because I was just a little behind on nonfiction. But we're gonna get back into that. I did start the next Dungeon Crawler Carl book, which is called "The Gate of the Feral Gods." Um, I was just I kind of took my hiatus from the series when I read Blood Over Bright Haven and The Road, and I've just been really excited to get back into it. So far, I think I'm about 50 pages into it. I just started it yesterday, so not too much progress on that. But I've heard this one's a little bit of a departure from the third book, which was very complex, back to kind of a little bit less complexity. But what I'm really excited for is just to continue on in the world building, kind of with the politics outside of the dungeon. I'll be curious to see if we get some more of that. I think we will. It's kind of pointing towards that already, so that's very exciting. I love kind of these deep built worlds where there's lots of different politics going on. Um, I really like that kind of stuff. Um, if you were to talk about Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace, the politics within it, if it was just done a little bit better, that would be like I love that shit. So that'd be a lot of fun. Um, but I think if that's what I'm really looking for, the Dungeon Crawler Carl, whoa, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series is probably not the best choice for that. So I'll probably look for some sort of book along those lines at some point. After that, I really want to get to The Name of the Wind. That's kind of on my radar as maybe my next hiatus from this series. I've heard so much good about it that I really want to get to it, and it's such a great size. I'm going on vacation this month, so I love kind of that palm sized paperback. So that's probably what I'm going to take, and I'll get through on that. Okay, writing update this week. Lots of exciting stuff happening on that front, actually. So, about midweek last week, I was just kind of in a little bit of a rut. I had written a chapter that I wasn't really happy with because it felt like I was kind of going in a lot of different directions. So, what I did is I just took a break. I took a day or two break and just said, I need to kind of do a little bit of a mind flush on this. So, then I came back and I started what I really try to do is outline specifically for the end of the book and outline to tie in the stuff that I want to keep and the stuff that I maybe need to rethink. So what I did is I kind of outlined how I'm going to land the plane on this and some of the chapters that I need to put into the book to land where I want to. So that's kind of given me a fresh outlook on some stuff the past couple days. I've written some really good passages of it that I think are going to fit in really well. I'm kind of writing in the middle of the book right now. Not actually a whole lot of progress. I'm still sitting at that, high 60%, but I think that now there's a pretty good idea of where we're going. So that was, the numbers not moving a lot, but I think that I'm not, I'm not procrastinating on it. I'm just really getting some quality kind of intertwining there. Even though the number hasn't moved a ton, I know that I wrote about probably 3 or 4 thousand words. That's not a ton, but they were pretty quality words, so I'm pretty happy with that progress. What else for this week? Oh, we went to a couple of thrift stores. We're working on starting a little free library, so my wife has been going to thrift stores and just kind of stocking up on some books, and I found a really cool copy of the Odyssey. I saw the trailer for the Odyssey on, I think it comes out next year, so it's a very early on trailer. And I've just never really sat down and read that fully. So I got a pretty cool copy of that, very good condition from the thrift store. So that was kind of fun. Just another kind of another idea that I wanted to throw out there. Thrift stores are pretty great for books. I think a lot of people, they'll either get books as gifts or, just clearing out some space, and that's the first place that they go. Can always find some really great stuff. I might do a little bit of like a book haul at some point just because I've gotten some really great finds from thrift stores. I have a really great local used bookstore that also usually has some great stuff. I've been spending on the Dungeon Crawler Carl series because, man, nobody really has those used right now, and they're really good additions. So I think they're $30 right now. So I've been kind of spending on those. But yeah, that's a great option. Thrift stores. I just kind of wanted to provide a couple of the ways that I get some of my books on the cheaper, unless it's Dungeon Crawler Carl. Thrift stores. The library is your best bet, especially if you like to read on a Kindle. Um, there's just so many things that you can just borrow right away, and obviously you can go to the actual library. I would be shocked if all of them didn't have kind of a hold system where they'll actually deliver to a library closer to you. Most are very good about that. So that's always a great option. But the Kindle is just so convenient if you have the Libby app or Hoopla or whichever app you use. Um, so just keep that in mind as you talk about some or think about some different books that you'd like to read. I believe that is it for this week. We're gonna get through Gate of the Feral Gods, finish that nonfiction, start another nonfiction, whichever that ends up being, and we will make some great progress on writing. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next week.